There are concrete plans for a major AEW star to return from injury in the near future. All this and more in this huge AEW news story. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. And let's talk about this big return because a major AEW star is indeed closing in on a return, thankfully, considering how many injuries there are on the All Elite Wrestling roster right now. And it is a former world champion. It is none other than the cleaner. Kenny Omega is nearing an AEW return. This is a huge story that is being reported by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. It was alluded to by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, but the cleaner could indeed be headed back to action if what staff and talent in All Elite Wrestling have been told is indeed true. Now, last week, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported. Well, he was asked about the Young Bucks versus FTR. Obviously, everyone wants to see it. Young Bucks versus FTR 3. Of course, the Young Bucks just dropped the AEW World Tag Team Championships, and the big discussion was, where's FTR in all of this? Why aren't we seeing the Young Bucks versus FTR? Why isn't FTR involved in the Tag Team Championship picture? Why weren't the FTR challenging for the AEW World Tag Team Championships last week? Now, at the time, it was kind of reported as, well, they're busy doing other things. They're the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, AAA World Tag Team Champions, IWGP Tag Team Champions. That's the situation when it comes to them. It's nothing because of any big plan. Well, Dave Meltzer said that the Young Bucks versus FTR 3 was being held off on as the Young Bucks have a, quote, major angle that is yet to come to fruition in the works. Now, this piqued a lot of people's curiosity because whenever Dave Meltzer talks about anything regarding AEW, it means he's spoken to Tony Khan. Dave Meltzer is very spotty when it comes to WWE stuff and other companies, but when it comes to AEW, what Meltzer says most of the time is true because he's either heard it from Tony Khan or he's heard it from within the company. He goes to Tony Khan and Tony Khan tells him whether it's true or not. That's on most cases, and in certain bigger stories, he maybe hears about them and is told by Tony Khan, I wouldn't talk about that if I were you, that kind of situation. So after he said that sort of cryptic thing about FTR versus the Young Bucks 3 being held off on because there's a major angle in the works, Fightful Select, that being Sean Ross Sapp, poked around about what the angle could be. What was the angle that was this big angle that could be coming to fruition in the future? And Fightful are reporting, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that at least the rumor being referred to by Dave Meltzer involved the former AEW World Champion Kenny Omega. Fightful Select is reporting that tentative plans that certain staff members have been made aware of was that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are slated, or at least were slated, for a 6-man tag program for September's All Out pay-per-view. Now, they're yet to confirm this with AEW officials, i.e. Tony Khan, or senior officials just below him, maybe Kenny Omega himself. He is an EVP after all, and that anything could change, as is the nature of pro wrestling. Of course, when it comes to the tag team scene in AEW recently, there's been a lot of change going on. There have been heavy changes and adjustments to the AEW tag team title picture over the course of the last 2 months due to injuries, people like Jungle Boy, etc., but also Jeff Hardy's DUI. That was a big thing that kind of changed plans and changed course for the AEW tag team title picture. Of course, the Hardy Boys were scheduled for a tag team championship reign. Kenny Omega has been out of action since shortly after losing the AEW World Championship to Hangman Adam Page last November at Full Gear. Now, no specific injury as to why he was been out because he's got a plethora of them. There are significant injuries or have been significant injuries to Kenny Omega. Now, the star seemed poised to have a feud with Adam Cole. When he was leaving at the time, he kind of said, you have to take care of the elite while I'm gone, that kind of situation. But the problem is, Adam Cole has also been joined by the Undisputed Era members Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, all on the sidelines with injury. The Undisputed Era, or whatever they want to be called, the Undisputed Elite, whatever, they're all injured at the moment. Adam Cole's got the torn labrum and the concussion issues. We know that Adam Cole isn't going to have surgery on the torn labrum, but he is still on the shelf when it comes to concussion. When it comes to Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, I can't recall exactly what is the issue with him. Bobby Fish might be a kayfabe, but we don't know, but they're all sidelined with injuries. Now, Omega told Fightful in June that his original timetable to return to AEW was the Forbidden Door pay-per-view itself, but he didn't want to risk coming back too soon. He also told Fightful in that same interview that he briefly returned to the road behind the scenes, but had to remove himself as he felt it was slowing progress. There had been reports that Omega was doing his EVP duties behind the scenes, but he had maybe returned too soon, and it was stunting his road to recovery, his progression, so he's not been on the road since then. Now, AEW nor Kenny Omega himself have confirmed this news, and they do not have a specific return date in order. So thus far, this is just a big rumor, it must be said, and this is based on what talent and staff have been told. Now, the reason why this is key, and the reason why I'm talking so in depth here about what is essentially a rumor, is because when it comes to AEW, these things get around. When you look at the debuts, the returns, etc., big names signing with the company, the talent seems to always know first. Whether it is CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, I think about Keith Lee, I think about the Ring of Honor announcement that was made earlier this year when Tony Khan had purchased Ring of Honor. There is always rumblings among talent, and they continue to prove to be right. Now, I'm not saying that certain talent leak things out to get buzz on social media. That may be a part of it. It may just be a situation whereby in AEW, a lot of people know reality, what's actually going on in that company. That might be a part of it too. What I would say is historically we have seen that if the company is, or people within the company rather, are talking about, let's say, Kenny Omega, let's say other people, then chances are there is something going on. And I would suggest that there is definitely something to these rumors, in my opinion. I would suspect the plan is, and again, this is just speculation on my part, I would suspect the plan is to do the Elite versus the Undisputed Elite at All Out. I would assume that would be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. That might be a big part as to why Adam Cole himself has decided against getting surgery for his torn labrum, because he knows there are big matches in the future that he wants to be a part of. I would assume that's probably a big part of that too. So, there have also been reports previously, Tony Khan has even spoken about this by himself in some of these media calls that he's done before big events and big pay-per-views. He spoke about wanting to do AEW Trios Championships. He spoke about that previously. And we know that they've just introduced the All-Atlantic Championship, and they've got now the TBS Championship when it comes to the female side of things. And he's been asked about Trios Championships, which have been rumored for a long time. It's already been rumored, actually, that the titles have already been made, and the titles have been made for a long period of time. I think prior to the pandemic, when Death Triangle first formed, and you had people like Best Friends, and you had people like Jurassic Express at the time, and the Elite, I believe the plan was to do Trios Championships then, and because of the pandemic, things got put off, and things got moved around, and things got changed. But when Tony Khan's been asked about Trios Championships in the past, he has said that he does plan on doing them. He does want to do them, but he wants to wait until Kenny Omega returns because he wants to have the Elite involved in that, which says to me that the Elite are going to be the first ever AEW Trios Champions, or whatever they call them. That seems to certainly be the plan, I think. But if they have a tournament or they don't have a tournament, I think they're going to be pivoting to a point where it's the Elite versus the Undisputed Elite. And that might be for the Trios Championships. That might not be for the Trios Championships. Of course, All Out's at the beginning of September. There is still time to make the announcement of a tournament, but the problem is if there's going to be a tournament for said Trios Championships, Kenny Omega is going to have to compete in every single match when it comes to the Elite anyway in that tournament, and that doesn't make a lot of sense for a return. So I would suspect they have a match at the pay-per-view, which is the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, as this power struggle in the Elite continues, maybe something like that. And then coming out of the pay-per-view, that's when they transition into those Trios Championships. But certainly a massive, massive story. We'll probably hear more about it. Is it the right time? I mean, September's what, 2 months before he would have been out for a year? I mean, I suspected him to be out for a year, really. I mean, I know there had been reports back in February and stuff like that, but that was way too early. When you think about the amount of injuries and surgeries this guy has had, and bear in mind that Kenny Omega was still having 5-star matches despite having all of these huge injuries. That's not to say when he comes back he's going to be revolutionary and amazing. I don't think we're ever going to maybe see the Kenny Omega that we saw in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But I don't want to see that anymore. What I want to see is a healthy Kenny Omega, at least as healthy as possible. This guy was dealing with vertigo in the ring. in addition to all of his other injuries. So the fact that he could be coming back healthy is a major bonus. The fact that we can maybe eventually get Kenny Omega versus CM Punk in a big match as well, that's exciting. Maybe Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. Once again, we saw that at Grand Slam last year. There are so many big matches that we've still yet to see from Kenny Omega in AEW. It's an exciting time, certainly, if indeed he is set to return to the company in the very near future. So huge story, of course. If we hear more about it, we'll talk about it in the coming days and weeks. Let me know your thoughts about Kenny Omega's possible return in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestling News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.